Good evening and welcome to WANA Live, the reading series of the Writers Association of Northern Appalachia. I'm your host, Damian Dresick, and here's your other host,
Christina Bosonic, here in lovely, unfortunately dark already, Wheeling, West Virginia. How are you, Damian? Up there in Slippery.
I am well, thank you. We have pasta and homemade meatballs that are going to be ready right after WANA Live, so my daughter and I are excited.
Lucky you. That's awesome. It's a good thing on these early fall days. It keeps our spirits up when everything gets dark.
Yep, she says that the weather matches my heart.
I suppose she's right. All right. Well, who do we have tonight?
I am super excited. This is one of my favorite Pittsburgh writers. I got a chance to read with our tonight's writer a really long time ago, and she made a wonderful impression on me. Such good work. We have Jane Bernstein tonight. Her most recent books are The Face Tells the Secret, her fifth book for adults, and Gina from Siberia, her first book for children, co-written with her daughter, Charlotte Glynn. She's a lapsed screenwriter and an avid essayist whose recent story, Still Running, was chosen for Best American Sports Writing 2018. Jane's grants and awards include 2 NEA fellowships and a creative writing, and a Fulbright Fellowship. She is a professor of English and a faculty member of the creative writing program at Carnegie Mellon University. So let's bring on Jane.
Absolutely.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hi, Damian and Christina. I'm really happy to be here.
We're so glad you could join us.
Yeah, this is awesome.
Right.
We are going to disappear and give you the floor or the screen as it is, and we'll be back when you're finished.
All right. What are you going to read for us tonight, Jane?
I'm going to read Still Running.
Very cool.
I mentioned before because I think I can bring it home pretty quickly.
Good. Thank you. We'll be back in a bit.
Awesome.
Great. Still Running. I started to run in 1973 on a track above the basketball court at the McBurney YMCA in New York City. 20 laps to a mile, t-shirt, cut-off jeans, denim sneakers with orange laces, flat and heavy like low-cut basketball shoes. The Y sells a lap counter, a metal gizmo that fits into my palm, 1 click for each time around. Using it means I no longer have to count the laps, and my mind can wander while my legs do the work. I can be both of my body and a part of it, present and far away. Before I stepped onto this track, I thought of myself as unathletic, hadn't ever played sports. There were no teams for girls in my big suburban high school, only gym class with its daunting pommel horses I could not mount and ropes I was afraid to climb. Never the absolute last to be chosen, but one of the stragglers, a restless, fumble-fingered klutz in an ugly blue gym suit. Now it's as if a switch has been flicked and the whirring restlessness inside me has turned into purpose. I can run. I buy real running shoes, white Adidas with 3 green stripes, and run in the street. Never again will I run indoors. A woman runner is a rare sight. Men call out when I jog by. Where's the fire? They run beside me for a few steps or trot in an exaggerated way, pumping their arms. Who's chasing you? They shout. Marriage. In-laws in Florida. She wants to what? My father-in-law watches me lace up my running shoes, then follows me out of the house, warning me about the rattlesnakes that slither in the sandy far reaches of their development. He stands on the doorstep when I leave, shaking his head and chuckling, and when I return, he's still at the door, still shaking his head, still chuckling. That takes the cake, he says. All that week, he keeps shaking his head and chuckling in benign disbelief. That really takes the cake. My husband's former girlfriend, Ginger, asks if she can join me on a morning run in New York City. Too shy to say no, I agree to meet her on Bleecker Street, midway between our Greenwich Village apartments. We head southwest toward Canal Street, run up the ramp onto the remaining stretch of the elevated West Side Highway, closed to traffic, exit at the Battery, and continue home. Our short Saturday runs become longer, more frequent training runs. We continue down to City Hall and over the Brooklyn Bridge, and later around the lower perimeter of Manhattan. We join a group that runs a 17-mile course at night up Riverside Park to the George Washington Bridge and back. Ginger and I lug hundreds of hours of conversation running side by side, talk that grows more intimate as the miles pass. The first time we meet for dinner, I barely recognize her in street clothes. Our conversation is awkward and disjointed. We've never sat across from each other, never looked in each other's eyes. It takes a while to adjust. First road race? Ginger and I stand at the starting line in Central Park with 50 or so others on a frigid fall morning. My husband cheers for me at the finish line. He wants children badly, but I'm ambivalent. No matter what, he says, I promise I'll always make sure you can run. This is how he gets me to agree. What can a pregnant runner wear? In desperation, I buy a tennis outfit, a sleeveless Empire waist top and bloomers with an elastic waist. It's all I can find. You look like a float in a Memorial Day parade, my husband says. There's no cheering when I galump down the street, no tubas or drums or applause, just the occasional dumbstruck pedestrian pausing to watch. I imagine him thinking, that really takes the cake. First daughter, Charlotte. First marathon, New York. First line of first published novel, Lydia Wren. My heroes in those days? Catherine Switzer, the first woman to officially enter the Boston Marathon. She wasn't looking to make history, she only wanted to run. But in 1967, the marathon was closed to women, so she entered as KV Switzer and ran in disguise for 4 miles until the race director, Jock Semple, jumped off the press truck and shouted, "Get the hell out of my race." The picture of him trying to rip the number off her chest made headlines. Greta Whites, the first woman to run a marathon in under 2.5 hours. Mickey Gorman, who won the Boston and New York marathons twice. Tosh Dalia, who was born in wartime Japan. We starved, she told a reporter. My mother would stand on food lines all day and come home with a cucumber to feed a family of 6. I dreamed of being a bird so I could fly away. She started running at the age of 44, waking at 5 a.m. to set out before work. I remember seeing her, tiny hair and pigtails, flying beside the earthbound others. I loved these women who were not encouraged to run, loved watching them float, fly, set records gracefully, silently, defiantly. The 1980s are the boom years. Everyone's running. Sweat-wicking fabric, shoes with gel cushioning and waffle soles, sports drinks, orthotics for every ache below the knees. Men wear running shoes with tuxedos. Running can improve your sex life, body image, and mental health, I read. Run to feel centered and empowered, to shed extra pounds. I don't know. I just love it. There's no other reason to run. Our move from New York to New Jersey is wrenching and inevitable. There's so much I'll miss about the city, most of all my regular runs with Ginger. Tamaka's Park in the town where we move is like a bus depot on Saturday mornings. Groups of runners leave every 15 minutes, starting at 6 a.m. I fit into a pack made up of middle-aged men, including a psychiatrist who tells all his patients to run. After a long run in winter, tiny balls of ice hang from their facial hair like Christmas decorations. In the summer, their nipples bleed from rubbing against their shirts. My second toe is longer than my first, a condition known as Morton's toe. If the toe box of my running shoe isn't broad enough, the toenail pushes against the shoe, bruises, blackens, and falls off. How many times has this happened to me? 10 times? 20? In Maine, where we have a cottage, I call the local sporting goods store to see if they know any women who run long distance. They put me in touch with Evelyn, who is co-captain of the cross-country team at Bowdoin College with Olympian Joan Benoit. I run with Evelyn and her fiance, a lobsterman, and with their friends and cousins. I run with carpenters and fishers of Irish moss, and sometimes with strangers. Where are you running? I ask. What's your pace? Can I join you? I saw you running, people say to me often. Yes, I say. And that's it. Nothing ever follows this exchange. My husband keeps his promise even after the marriage begins to fail. Now, though, if I linger too long around him, he says in irritation, "Go running, will you?" Translation, "Go straight to hell." You cannot cry and run at the same time. It's one or the other. Crying tightens your chest and makes your breathing jagged. You can either give in to the grief or let it go. In this period, when there are no arms that can placate me, nothing to make me feel better, all I can do is go outside, take in the familiar streets and woods, and run. After a few minutes, I begin to feel a heightened awareness of the world around me, a sense of connectedness and pleasure, something sweet that cuts through the grief. Then they stop, most of the runners I know. Their reasons are many. My knees gave out, and so will yours. My back went bad. My hip plantar fasciitis, a torn meniscus. My sciatica was killing me. Surgery for the ACL. The kids, so boring. The arthritis in my toe. Who has time? And then I fell. I got hit by a car, so I gave it up. The unspoken message. And so will you. I cannot imagine it. I cannot imagine the day I will sit on the floor to lace my running shoes for a last time. It's 1995. I'm in a new city, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, a single parent, divorced. I have a couple of running friends, but mostly I run alone in the city's big woodland parks. I no longer designate a single day of the week to do hill work. Every day is hill work. The woods become my holy place. Maybe it's because I'm alone, because I've stopped keeping training logs, because I'm older, because these hilly parks are so beautiful that I become exquisitely aware of myself on these rutted trails, the rustling leaves, the sky, my breathing, the hill I mount, the squawking crow, all of it part of the same fabric. This is what I've loved above all else, only now I feel it more fully than ever before. My daughter Charlotte is a teenager and rebellious. Later, when she recalls these years, the punchline of every incident will be the turquoise spandex tights. She leaves a note to tell me she's run away from home. I figure she's at a coffee shop called the Beehive, and when I stomp inside and find her with a backpack full of beer, I'm wearing my turquoise spandex tights. She's forgotten to bring a check for her high school ski club and the last possible day to register, so I tuck the check in my pocket and go to the school on way back from my run. She's standing beneath a tree, smoking with her friends, when she sees me running toward her in my turquoise spandex tights. 50 years old, sinewy. I keep tights, a t-shirt, and a spare pair of running shoes in the trunk of the car. You never know. Like the postman, I run through rain, snow, and sleet, but not ice. Falling on wet leaves, on ice, on roots, on broken sidewalk, on cement years back when I was 7 months pregnant with my second daughter, on the bridle path in Central Park where I slid on the dirt like a baseball player trying to steal a base. Always stunned, always getting up and saying, I'm okay, I'm fine. On a metal grate over the Gowanus Canal in Brooklyn, a medical student sits on the curb with me while her boyfriend runs to get napkins for the blood that spurts from my chin and knee. My hand throbs. I'm fine, I insist. I'm okay. They pay for a taxi to take me home. I ice my knee, try to stop the bleeding, think, as I always do, one day I will fall, and that will be it. And then, I wonder if I'll be able to run tomorrow. By 2003, running is no longer fun. The problem is my ass, my tuchus, my keister, my behind. It has a name, this not at all funny pain in the butt, piriformis syndrome, common among runners and people who sit for hours, bus drivers, riders, cops. Sitting hurts worse than running. The radiating pain makes me feel like an animal with a limb caught in a trap. I want to chew off my leg. I get MRIs, physical therapy, cortisone shots, new diagnoses. I buy a wedge cushion, more cushioned running shoes. I give up desk chairs and running on asphalt. I wait to feel the joy, run, limp, wait some more. I think of Jock Semple shoving and clawing at Catherine Switzer, and she ran on. I think of all the injuries that plagued the women runners I admire, all the tendons and muscles and ligaments torn and repaired. I think of my friend Ginger's countless surgeries, and she ran on. I think of Tosh Dalia 8 months after cancer diagnosis, completing a marathon in under 3 hours, setting a world record for women over 50. A year passes. In this limping, aching period, I buy a new house 3 minutes from a 644-acre woodland park with plenty of hilly trails. Start doing yoga every morning. Carry my wedge cushion with me when I travel. The pain begins to dissipate. And then one day, an awareness. I ran and nothing hurt. 60. In running clothes, I look like a plucked chicken. I saw you running, an acquaintance says. Yes, I tell her. Slowly, I think, but the joy has returned. Until close to the end of her life, Tasha Leah was in the pool every morning at 7 a.m. She swam a mile, ran in the water, did yoga. Then in the afternoon, she ran 3 to 5 miles. That was her day until the day she couldn't, said her daughter in a New York Times obituary. 72, I'm still running. Thanks.
Oh, I so loved every word of that. Partly, especially because the writing is just so good, and then the names of all the women, and that, recovery of those important, moments for women in running and women athletes. And I think anybody who's ever thought about or studied women in history know that moment, can see that image. As soon as you said it, I could see him trying to pull her out of the race. But I was also thinking about, my own passion for swimming as you were doing this, and how I'm driven by the same things. And I keep a swimsuit in the trunk of my car and goggles. If you get in my car, you're almost always going to sit on a pair of goggles. And just that, I love the rhythm of this essay as well. And the way that I felt like it just kept us moving and going, like we were running maybe alongside you. I could never keep up, but I would at least be going, nice writing. But it was just really, truly fantastic. What a joy to listen.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
That was, such lovely work. By the end of it, I could not help but think about teaching this essay, because there's this wonderful way that you use like running as this controlling metaphor, and it's like your rest of your life is interwoven, but in terms of teaching, it's like, look how this person does this, how the focus, and it's this just delicious linguistic business, like Christina was saying. It made me think a little bit, although you don't do any heroin, of Jim Carroll's The Basketball Diaries. Because I hate basketball, but you read Carroll's book, and you're like, I can't wait to get out there and play some basketball. Boy, this sounds like the way you describe running. It's like, maybe I should give some consideration to this running thing. I mean, it works for Jane.
Yeah, well, in that moment of just of being totally immersed in this thing, and like you said, you can't cry when you run. Sometimes when I feel my angriest or saddest, I know it's like I can't get to the pool fast enough, because that's where everything happens: the exercise, the meditation, the release, the whole thing. It was so relatable and so very beautifully crafted. I wondered though, and this is kind of depressing, but when you said you can't imagine sitting down on the floor to tie your shoes and thinking this is the last time, I hope you never know that it's the last time. Like I hope that
Right.
I hope you never know. I hope that it just goes.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to.
Yeah. I mean, I do other things as well. And so there's a piece of me that thinks, okay, our life is finite, and maybe I can't run. I can walk. I'd like to swim. I mean, whatever.
Right. Keep moving.
We have some comments from our viewers. Bart, who's a regular viewer, says a very enjoyable reading. And then he also went on to add, exactly, Christina, it's like the listener is running with her.
Oh, so nice. So nice.
We've also got Linda saying, Jane Bernstein never disappoints.
Linda, you're the best.
And one of our other regular viewers, the terrific editor, Rusty Barnes, says, excellent stuff. So up and down like running.
Yeah. That reminds me, I really love the part where you talked about, running in Pittsburgh, and anybody who's ever spent time in Pittsburgh, and I think three of us, obviously, I've never lived there, but I've certainly spent a lot of time in the city. It was very place oriented in that moment. Like, I've been to the coffee shop, I've been to the, and the hills. I mean, people always say that West Virginia, I mean, we're the mountain state, but the hills of Pittsburgh have certainly got some of my state beat in terms of
I have really come to love the hills. I love the hills because it's actually like with skiing. Weren't we supposed to ski, Damien? Years ago?
Yes. That's right. You're absolutely right.
And in fact, the reason I ended up having to cancel is because of the piriformis, because of this hip rotator muscle. I can't turn to the right.
Oh,
it's fine.
I mean, can see that. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was because it's like a weak muscle, but I've come to really love them because at night sometimes I can close my eyes and I can feel the terrain just as after a day of skiing, where you can actually feel it in your body.
Yeah.
It stays with you. And so I kind of map in my own head, whether it's Frick Park or Maine or someplace, another hilly place. I can close my eyes. I can tell you where the hills are. I can feel the down and the up of them. I don't know. I like it.
That sounds like another essay to me. I think everybody would want to read that.
I can feel those hills.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have to say I want to steal as an epigram. The problem is my ass.
Many of us feel that.
So who published that essay initially? Because I know it won a major award. It was a Best American. So
The Sun. It was originally in the Sun.
Very cool. We've had a couple of folks who've in the last 3 weeks. We've had like a few people have had stuff in the Sun relatively recently. You have a new book out, if memory serves. Yes. What that is called? The Face, and this came out, I believe, is it 2019?
Oh, yeah, 2009, fall of 2019.
Very cool. And that can be people who say, wow, that Jane Bernstein, I didn't know about her until now. But I'd like to hear more. They can get this off of Amazon. They can get this off of IndieBound. They can go to order it through their local or local indie bookstore, which we always want to support.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I did actually here in Pittsburgh, I did my launch at White Whale. So that was actually still live. And I guess that was the fall before COVID. I mean, what a big blackout period we had. But that was a live event.
Yes, it's like time did strange things that we didn't expect during period, and it's still with us. But we're big supporters of the Whale, and we love to send people over there, and are just so grateful that they stuck around through the pandemic, because so many people, indie bookstores really had trouble hanging on.
I know. But they've expanded, and I think they've really done well making a kind of community center, and particularly when all the restrictions are lifted, I think it'll be great.
Yes, I follow them on Instagram and have been watching like all their new stuff going into the store, and how excited they are about their expansion. So it's really an awesome thing to have them in the community.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, thank you so much for making time for us, Jane. It was great to hear you.
Thank you very much. I hope I didn't run over. I didn't check the time.
You were absolutely perfect.
Good.
So, and thanks everybody for tuning. By the way, next week is a very, very special WANA Live. It is our 100th edition of WANA Live, and we have a very special guest coming. I'm going to wait to just to confirm before I announce who it is, but it's somebody that I suspect you've probably heard of.
Yes, and we're both really, really excited to announce that, but we're double confirming. So yes,
we got a yes, but I want to make sure it's like exactly what day and exactly what time. You didn't sort of generally yes.
We need a yes.
All right. So thank you, Jane. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll see you next week.
Thank you, Christina and Damon. It was so fun. Yeah, it's great.
Good night, everyone.
You're all doing well.